Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight on our Monday, October the 24th board meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order. And board members, I need an approval of the consent agenda, please.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Ms. Robinson. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Mitchum. Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Okay, we're going to move on to our school highlights.
I don't see, where's that at? Oh, I'm sorry, you're right in front of me. I'm going to give this to you, Thad. Here you go. Oh, yeah. Is his microphone on?
All right, here we go. So thank you. Good evening. So today, been asked here tonight to go over our SC report card data for 2022, which I know we're already kind of late into the 22-23 school year, but that's just how the State Department does things. So as you know, the report card is an annual thing. It is put on in part by the EOC, the Education Oversight Committee, as well as the State of South Carolina Department of Education. And they every year publish the rules that we have to play by for that year, how they're going to assess us, how they're going to hold us accountable. So that is a public document in case anybody ever wanted to go on and see. It's out there in the open for everybody to know exactly how everything is calculated. The part of what the EOC does is establish how we will be judged. And as you can see here, there are numerous indicators or categories ranging from academic achievement to school climate to college and career readiness. As you can see, not all the indicators apply to every level. For example, the student progress, which is our student growth, only applies to our 3 through 8 programs, does not apply to high schools. And graduation and college and career readiness obviously only applies to the high schools. So the point distribution for each indicator can sometimes vary from level. And if you're wondering what the with L's and without L's, what that means is that L's are your English language learners. So if your school has a population of 20 students or more who are not native speakers of English, then they will be with L's. Currently, we only have 2 schools, Rawlings Middle School of the Arts, as well as Somerville Elementary School, who do not have the category of EL. So one of the things the state sends us is a wonderful data file. This is like 1/16 of it. That is my job. What I get to do is go through that data file and make sure that all of the third-person vendors that they use, as well as what the State Department does, is what we feel is accurate and correct. And yes, there are times when there are discrepancies. So that's part of what I do to make sure that these people who are judging us from the outside, because almost everything on the report card is an outside source, right? On nothing that we do, there's no test that we generate. Everything is handled from the outside. And of course, we have the long-awaited, once we get that data file, the principals are knocking on my door and emailing me, wanting to know how is that column right there that I've circled in red for you, what is that going to look like for them? What is their overall school rating going to be? Keeping in mind that your school gets an overall rating, as well as each of the indicators that you receive points for also receive their own indicator. So take, for example, I believe I'm using Ashley Ridge here as the example. They received an overall of excellent, and they received also for preparing for success, as well as their graduation rate was excellent, but their academic achievement and their EL was rated as good. So you can have some varying ratings, and then you get the overarching school rating. So how did it turn out? This is what everybody wants to know. Well, we did very well this year. We had 10 excellent schools, 6 good, 8 average. You will notice that there are no unsatisfactory and no below average schools. And we are very excited about that, because as long as I've been in this job, and it's 5 years now, we've usually, unfortunately, had 1 below or 1 here or 1 there. So Yeah, we're very excited about that. Now, those overall point averages on the far right, you'll see, and sometimes you'll say to yourself, well, why is a 39 average for this school, but a 39 was a different rating for another school? Again, I want to go back to the fact that every level has its own set of points, and sometimes that can be a little confusing. So without the chart to know what do you have to hit to be an equal or to be excellent or good or average, it does vary between the three building types. I also want to go back real quick too, because this is sort of an unsung or unrecognized part of what we do. Please notice the participation rate. This is the number of students who participate in our accountability system. And you can see here we are very high 90s, sometimes 100%, which means that when they're judging our schools, we're not hiding kids and stashing them away or anywhere like that. We're getting them, we're chasing them down, and it's a lot of work by our assistant principals. They go to homes to test kids, they meet kids at libraries on the weekends. We bend over backwards to make sure that every kid can be involved in our accountability system. And I'm very grateful for that. Here, we're not going to get into too much. That's a very loud chart for this evening. The main thing here to look at is that we're always tracking our schools over time. Orange would be this year, and so you want to see the orange peaking over all of the other colors that are up there for each school. And as you'll see here, a little bit easier slide to read, our schools are moving forward. I think with all the exception of maybe 2 schools, we are equal to or greater than where we've been in the past as far as our overall ratings are concerned. So we're also very excited about that. And you can see starting in like 2018 where we had the 1 below average, or we actually had what, 2 or 3 below average. Now we don't have any. Now, of course, in 2020, we did not have a report card rating system due to COVID-19. And in 2021, everything was reported, but it was not rated. So due to the fact that some districts handled their end-of-year testing very differently, due to the fact that we had students at home, et cetera, in these different environments, the state elected to report on us, but not to rate us. So that's why you see that discrepancy there from 2018-19 and up to 2022, this school year. Again, here we see our middle schools, which is good because we see those orange going up or staying pretty much in place. And again, here with our high schools, all of the orange going up. And we're particularly excited about our news with our high schools. As you can see here, and unfortunately when we formatted this for this slide, I don't want to not mention Alston, but they fell off. It's okay. I do apologize. When we move from the notebook to the online, formatting isn't always your friend. So Alston Middle School, I want to make sure they get recognized because in 2018 and 2019, Alston Middle School was average, and this year they earned a good rating. So I want to make sure that they get acknowledged for that. But we can see there, again, all 3 high schools earning excellent ratings and all 3 high schools improving their overall points. So that is definitely something to be excited about, that we're getting our kids where they need to be by the time that they graduate. So again, we spoke earlier how there are different indicators, and I'm just going to quickly run through each indicator. The achievement indicator is basically a consolidation of how well students perform on ELA and math, whether that be 3 through 8 on SC Ready, or whether that be on the EOC English 1 or Algebra 1 exam. And we can see here that our schools are doing really well. We've got a lot of our schools, these are all of our, this is all schools, and they are showing here average and excellent and bad. Again, we have 1 school there that unfortunately fell below the average mark, but overall, we're doing very well with our academics. And I apologize, I think with the formatting also, it's below the screen. But I do believe that somewhere around, and again, please don't quote me on this, but when it comes to overall academic achievement, we're in the teens as far as how we rank in the entire state. And again, I apologize that I don't have that in front of me. But our academic achievement for our elementary was, I want to say like 14th or 18th So we're doing quite well when you consider there are 80-plus districts. And I say 80-plus districts because it all depends on what you want to define as a district, right? Because you've got the district of the Governor's School of the Arts, you have the district of the Governor's School of Science. So whether that constitutes a district for you or not, I'll let you be the judge. When it comes to preparing for success, again, this is our science and our social studies. Oh, and I do want to go back because the high schools, I want to say that as far as how they ranked in the state on the EOC for English 1 was like 9th overall, and for math, I believe was 12th or 13th. So again, 2 great performances put on by our high schools. And I bring that up because we want to make sure that our students are passing the classes to be able to graduate. We don't want to graduate a class of students who are earning straight Ds. So we're very excited because that indicator shows how many students are earning A's, B's, and C's. So we're very pleased with our academic performance across the board. The next is preparing for success, which is science and social studies, again combined. Now, for the past few years, the state legislature has decided to not have us test with social studies. So this indicator has pretty much only been made up with our performance on science, and that is science in 4th grade and science in 6th grade, as well as biology 1 when you get to high school. And we can see here, again, our performance isn't quite where we'd like it to be, with a couple schools coming in with below average, with most of our other schools coming in average. But the interesting part is that DD2's overall average, when you look at our biology across the state, we're in 7th, we're ranked 7th in the state, as well as the DD2 is 18th in the state for science as well. Again, when you're looking at how we're doing compared to everybody else. So when we see this long slate of average on the right-hand column there, that still put us in 18th place out of 80-plus districts across the state. So while we're not happy with our performance, it is good to take a look around and say, well, how is our performance doing compared to everybody else? And again, mixed emotions. We're not happy with it, but comparatively, not so bad. Student progress, this is again another measure of growth of ELA and math. This does not include science or social studies. And this is using the same test data that was used for the achievement indicator, where they're going to use both your performance on SC Ready Math and ELA. And again, we're kind of got a mixed bags of results. And we are right in the middle of the pack when it comes to how we're doing across the state. So again, in those 80-plus districts, we're kind of right in the middle. And again, this is our growth. But I do want to pause here for a moment and talk about this particular indicator. Keep in mind, this is our 3rd iteration of an attempt to measure growth in South Carolina. This is the last year that we will be actually using the current formula, because in 23, 24, they're going to roll out yet another formula to try to pin down how well we're doing on this. Also, this includes performance from how a student did in the spring of 21 to the spring of 22, and we all know that not all districts handled testing in the spring of 21 equally and the same. So I'm glad for the data. The student level data that we got for this is phenomenal. Our principals have it. We know which students need the most help, and we're targeting them. As far as the bigger picture, I'm not so sure how much weight we need to put into that, given the variation of the evolution of the system, as well as how COVID kind of came in and played an effect. But again, very grateful for the data, because we're using it at that student level, which is ultimately what really matters. Again, we talked about our English language learners, and these students basically, based on how many years that they've been getting services in the school, and their start point on an assessment gives them an individual goal. And whether or not your school helps them, then the state and the accountability manual paces you out as to what you should do every year to reach your goal and exit out within 5 years. And we do a phenomenal job. You can see here that we've got a lot of schools coming in with good and excellent and average. And overall in the state, for students reaching their personal goals, we ranked 7th. And again, 2 of those districts that we're up against are governor schools. So we're very high up there. We're very proud of what we're doing with our EL program and the services that they're receiving. School climate, as you all know, they did it a little differently in spring of 2022. They pushed it out not through the schools, but through basically Power School, through eCollect. It went directly to students, directly to teachers, and directly to parents. For the 2022 accountability year, only teacher and student survey results were used, and that is keeping in with the tradition of how it's been for, 15, 20 years. I'm not quite sure how it's going to be handled in spring of 23. So the results here, again, kind of a mixed bag. And when you add up all of our scores and for our district average, and you compare that to across the state, we're coming in around 30th for our overall feel of climate in our buildings. Again, I don't know if I mentioned earlier or not, but districts, as you maybe or may not be aware, do not get ratings, and district as a whole does not get a rating for each indicator. So I go into the data, I pull up every district's raw data, we do a lot of processing to be able to give everybody a point value and do the ranking, just in case you're wondering. And this is all a public data file that we get from the State Department that anybody can go on and replicate what I'm doing here this evening. Yeah, that information's out there. Everything, with the student and teacher data is also this year a lot more in-depth information on the student report card. So that has been one improvement. In years past, they've only represented about 6 questions on the report card. This year, there's a lot more feedback on categories of how students and teachers are feeling in their school buildings. And almost last, graduation rate. I think you've already heard. We've been doing a lot of celebrating because we are very excited. We had Ashley Ridge High School coming in at 94. This is a formatting. I don't want to cheat them out of their 0.5. 94.5 is their graduation rate. So 94.5 for Ashley Ridge, Fort Dorchester coming in at 93.5, and Somerville High School coming in at 93. So all 3 high schools hitting a new record for themselves. And for us, the district, we came in at a 93.5 as well. So we were very excited about that. And that puts us ranked 7th in the state for graduation. Again, we're also competing with 3 governor schools. So if you take those out, it puts us around 4th in the state. That's very impressive. And here you can see just a quick chart of how 90 is actually the goal that was set when the EOC first started this program. And we have long passed that. Many years ago, we already passed that mark. And there are still many districts across the state that are wanting and desiring to cross that threshold. And we have crossed it and have maintained it and improved upon it over the last 4 years. And last, college and career readiness. I want to point out here that this is college or career readiness. In other words, they basically look at all your students and they want to say, we want to know that this student is either ready for college or ready for a career. Or they can be both, but for this particular indicator, it's or. So we're very excited that Ashley Ridge had 84.6% of their kids meet one of those criteria, Fort Dorchester at 80%, and Somerville High School at 79.6%, also ranking us 7th in the state. So graduation and CCR at 7th in the state is pretty remarkable for all 3 of our high schools. So we're very excited about that. And again, here we can kind of see our overall 4-year performance. So this isn't something that's new to us. We're used to doing very well. Now you can see in 2018 and 2019 that we're not quite up in 2022 to where we were in 18 and 19. But I'd also like to put the caveat in there that in 18 and 19, it was a lot easier to deem a kid career ready. They've changed the criteria a little bit, and it is a little bit more complicated now. Now, there are more ways that you can get kids to be considered career ready, but the criteria is harder. For example, the CATE completers now needing an additional exam and having to pass an additional criteria. So we're pretty excited about that. We're almost back up to where we were when perhaps it wasn't as difficult. So as you can see from 2020 and 2021, we were still able to report, although we didn't get rated. So we're glad to be back again on the positive side. Or I guess we were always on the positive side, but even higher up. And that is it for the going through the accountability manual. I don't know if we.
Any questions or comments?
I have just one quick question because, you know, some things are so good and other things I can tell you're not as excited about. But the student progress growth in the ELA and math at 45, where we're ranked, you said you were zeroing in on students so the teachers kind of have a grasp on it. What are they doing for those students that they're zeroing in on to help?
Well, I can only speak for when I was a principal. I can't speak for, unfortunately, I'm a little different department. But I know that we work for really placing those kids in Read 180, Math 180, any of our intervention programs. We're particularly looking at our special education population because they're being compared, you know, that indicator, like students are being compared. So if I have a SPED student who's in 4th grade, for example, and they're in the 40th, they're performing at the 45th percentile, I can compare that student to how other 45th percentile students, just like him, are performing across the state. And so if my student scores really well, I can be very proud of my resource or my SPED teachers and say, hey, we're really moving that kid. But if that 45th percentile kid isn't performing like other 45th percentile students and is below, then that's means for additional services or changing IEP goals. And again, I know that principals use this mass spreadsheet that my office produces that has just about every point of data imaginable on there for a student. And so I know that they're even using that information as far as how do we place these kids with individual teachers? How are they trying to match them with personalities? How are they using other resources in their building with the student concern specialists? I know that in the high school, the P&I are working with those kids to make sure that they're getting the attention they need, following their attendance, following those discipline, talking with the mentors. So it's just another point of data. And also, just every classroom teacher, it's good to know, and this also correlates what they have with our new MAP system. Every teacher can see, every time we take the MAP assessment, they get a little quadrant. And you want to look for your kids who are your low performers, low growers, and you want to find out who are your high performers, high growers, right? And so they can see those quadrants in there, and they can start targeting those kids in the classroom with grouping, rotations, station, parent conference. Even those, and I know a lot of the principals using the information that we sent out went back to make sure that a wonderful family report that gets printed in MAP also gets home and gets communicated through guidance counselors. So there's growth is definitely a big push in all of our schools, especially since we've incorporated MAP.
Thank you. That's very interesting. You know your stuff.
Any other comments or questions? Ashley?
I know you specifically mentioned the percentage of students that we tested, and yes, I agree that is important, and I know that our schools work really hard to make sure those numbers are high. So along those lines, when we're talking about the school climate surveys, how does that work as far as the percentages of people who actually answer those? Is there a certain requirement? You know, in other words, I'm just trying to figure out how accurate that information might be.
We have to hit an 85% participation threshold. If not, we get penalized.
Okay.
And we did not get penalized.
So every school had at least 85% participation, and that's
Correct.
Including both teacher students total, the 85%.
Well, students are their own category. And
So
then
85% of each.
each.
Okay. Okay.
So you can't use one category to hide the other.
Okay, that's helpful. And then I had another question. So just talking about the college and career readiness, because obviously I think that piece to me is just as important as the graduation rate. I mean, they go hand in hand. Do we do anything to look at our students after they've graduated to see whether or not they've actually are in a career, are in college, like a follow-up to see, you know, how accurate
Yes,
that?
about 3 years ago, we joined a national clearinghouse that does a phenomenal job of getting back to us. So first, every year, we have to fill out what they call the college freshman report. And colleges are supposed to report back to schools through a database system where these kids land. Military is supposed to do the same. Different internships, different things in industry they're supposed to. So a lot of the information that we get back is really in the hands of other people outside of our district. So what we're getting back, we can't really control. We can't call, all 142 universities that our kids go to make sure that little Billy reported and is maintaining that. But that's what this clearinghouse does. And they actually wait. It's always a year delayed, and so that you can see how many students made it through the entire year, how many students re-enrolled for their second year, what types of classes did they take. We're getting more and more information. And the EOC has done a great job also of pairing with that same clearinghouse. And they actually came around this year and provided us with wonderful detailed information about where our students are going, with a little bit greater further analysis of interests of where the kids are going, how well they're doing at four-year institutions versus two-year institutions versus military. So we're getting more and more information, and that's something that the EOC has definitely latched onto, and I think we're going to only see that improve as we move forward.
I'd be interested in seeing some. I mean, I think that would be good information.
I believe all of that is public on their website.
Okay, great, thank you. And then I had one other question. I was so busy listening to you that I've forgotten it. It'll come to me. Let someone else go. I'll think of it.
Anybody else? Ms. Crosby?
It's always been a controversy, different areas or different states or different schools, how they test their kids. Are our special ed kids tested and included in these scores, or are they not tested with the other kids?
Every student is tested. Every student.
Thank you.
Every student is involved in that 100%. That's our life skills students and even our alt students, the 1% of students who have to have alternative testing because unfortunately their disability is so severe that they cannot participate and have access to the normal. And they are all included in that 95%. And if you look in the accountability manual, it will show you how their test results play a role and are added in just like their A or B or C is like any other students.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify because a lot of people say, they didn't realize that. Thank you.
I might add that if we don't hit a threshold, whether it's special ed students or we try not to, so basically cherry pick, then we're penalized pretty heavily by the state. So it's in our best interest to not do that.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah. So I guess what numbers do you think they have the best opportunity for growth? As far as you said that you weren't happy with all of them, what do you think we can grow the best in?
I mean, there's definitely, if you look at our percentages of students in SC Ready, even on EOCs, there's definitely room across the board, right? So we're sort of facing this wall that the whole state is facing. So once you start pushing that 60 to 65% of your kids are getting A's, B's, and C's on the EOC, pushing further into that is definitely tough. Now, our state has set a very high bar on the EOCs, and when you compare them to NAEP and others, they definitely hold their own. Our exiting criteria for a student to be able to graduate is definitely in the top third, if not in the top 20% in the U.S. So, but there's always room for growth, and I think that's why and I think that's even why the EOC is fixated on a new program on targeting growth in a meaningful way. That it kind of almost goes back to the origins of No Child Left Behind. We want all students. A student who starts in third grade, by the time they're in eighth grade, no matter where they started, to at least be at that bottom threshold of meets. And so the new growth metrics are going to be pacing every student out at their own rate as to where they need to be so that in that 5 years, they can be in that metric. And that's going to be a whole new mind shift for the entire state. But we think it's a very positive one.
That actually was my question. So, and you reminded me, why, I mean, because I have heard and I actually listened in on a kind of brief education about the changes that are coming. So why do you think they are making the changes in how they formulate these report cards and the expectations? Well, I'm just saying.
If you know me, I would love to talk to you about 5 hours about that. Mm-hmm. But the short of it is the way that the growth metric is set up now if I move you to the 50th percentile, so for example, let's go back to that student we talked about who's at the 45th percentile. I'm a fourth grader, I'm a 45th percentile. If I do what's expected of me, and in fifth grade, I'm just going to be a 45th percentile student who's now with a fifth grade education. Well, we don't want that because we know the 45th percentile isn't making it a meets on SC Ready. I need to get you up to more of in the 60th percentile, 70th percentile. So currently, we're only encouraged to give that kids 1 year's worth of education. In the point system, there's nothing there for going above or beyond that. That's what this new system is going to be about, is stretching the kids. So a 45th percentile student might need to grow more comparatively to a student who, say, is at a 65th, because kind of the mindset now is if I gave this kid 1 year's worth of education, that's great. As a teacher, you should definitely be thrilled, right? You gave that kid an entire year. But if the kid comes in at the 30th percentile, he's still leaving you at the 30th percentile, just 1 year higher education. We want to change that, and we need to change that mindset. And I think, anything, if you move the carrot, people will move to it, students will rise to it, teachers will rise to it, and so growth will become a major portion of what the focus is going to be in across the state. Because it's not just a problem that's unique to Dorchester 2. It's nationwide.
So I might add, I sat on Indiana's accountability review panel. Mr. Doherty was in Indiana. They went to this model about 6 or 7 years ago, and you described it perfectly. We started out with the concept of a year's worth of growth for a year's worth of instruction, but those kids who were not at grade level, it was never on a trajectory to get them to grade level, and therefore possibly creating dropout potential students. And so that's why the value-added growth model looks at what's it going to take. So if I need to get that extra percentage or two each year to get them to that threshold, that's what this does. But it will have an impact on school districts and schools across the state.
So the teachers are going to get those metrics. In other words, this is how much I need to try to do to move this child to that next level. So
it's already posted on EOC's website.
Yeah.
And then, so what does that mean? So these kids are going to need more interventions. We know starting out the gate that they're going to need more support. Yes?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, support could be it, more focus on what we do inside the classroom, on where they're not at, meeting the standard, in certain areas. Yeah, we're going to have to be more targeted in our approaches, I guess is what I would say, to try to make, help these kids, achieve. So, more focused.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay, thank you.
It's a challenge, yeah.
Anyone else?
I got one more thing. I wanted to publicly say thank you to Thad. Haven't had a lot of opportunity to interact with him until this happened. He sat down with me. He's a wealth of knowledge. He is definitely a huge benefit to our school district. He humble, doesn't like to take credit, but the work he put into this and the information he provided us is amazing because it'll allow us to make some decisions. So, Pat, I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate your efforts on this.
Thank you. Thank you, Board.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Schmidt? Do you have anything else for? Okay. Okay, next on the agenda then is our public comments on agenda items. And I have one. And that would be Jason Rockert.
Technical difficulties. Or are we good with technical difficulties? Okay, I didn't want to mess anything up.
Yep, no, you're good.
I think it went into sleep mode, so we're restarting.
All right, yeah, I just want to make sure there were no issues there. All right, good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Robbins, DD2 Board. As Mr. Schmink pointed out, and actually I really appreciate that presentation as well. I went through the report card myself. The district came through this mess with actually really well. So for the past several years, DD2 has gone under the banner of we do so much. So I think I've spoken about that before. There are some pieces that we're kind of missing. One part that I really wanted to highlight under school climate is the classroom environment. Specifically, there are 32 fewer teachers in the district versus the previous year, 2.5% fewer with advanced degrees, 1.6% lower teacher attendance, 3.5% reduction in prime instructional time, 5.2 more students per teacher. So we already know the classes are already overcrowded. We have 224 inexperienced teachers in core subjects, again, according to the report card. And that's 62 more than the previous year. 15 out-of-field teachers in core classes, up from 11 the previous year. So we do so much with so little, but at what cost? Students cannot receive a quality education without quality educators. Quality educators can't provide a high level of performance without support. They've been stretched thin for a long time. Burnout is real. So we're already seeing some fallout. I expect that we're going to continue to see some more additional fallout. I really hope that the board gets all of the support that we need for our teachers, for our support personnel, for our bus drivers. I mean, the bus drivers can't make more buses. They can't drive more than one bus. They can't increase the capacity or control traffic patterns. Kids can't learn if they can't be in school. If they can't get to school, then they're obviously not in school. So the cost that we're potentially going to endure is that we've weathered the storm, but there's still some things left to fix. I know that very soon there's going to be at least 2 new faces up here on this board. I really hope that everybody educates themselves. They go out and they vote to support our schools, and we make sure that the folks that are sitting up on this panel have our children's best interests in mind, which means that we need to have our educators' best interests in mind as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brockert. Okay, that's all of our comments on agenda items. So we're going to move on to our next, which will be our board chairs report. And I want to begin the board chairs report just by talking about the SCSBA's professional development opportunities, and want to make sure that everyone has had an opportunity to look at those conferences that are coming up, and if it's something that you're interested in, please make sure there's still several of you that have not notified Ms. Smith about whether you would like to attend or not. And we do have our delegate assembly that's coming up the 1st of December, and we need to make sure we get our delegates turned in. The deadline for the delegates to be turned in is December 14th. So I need to make sure that all of you who are interested in going get with her so that we can get our delegates assigned for that delegate assembly. That being said, I want to talk a little bit about our November 14th board meeting. And it was brought to my attention because of the election, the upcoming election, there is a South Carolina Code 5919-315, and it's also our board policy, BBB, which states that the board or the term of the office for school board trustee must begin 1 week after the election certification, given the Dorchester County plans to hold the certification meeting on November the 11th, and the state plans to hold their certification meeting the following week. None of our trustees will be certified by the 14th. So I would like to, along with the district, ask that maybe we cancel that November 14th meeting, because we will not, at that time, we won't, not only will we not have a quorum on the board, because most of our board members are actually up for re-election this time or not returning. So that's something that we need to vote on to change this board calendar. So if I could get a motion to approve that, and then we'll have discussion on it.
I make a motion.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Mitchum. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second made by Ms. Wimberly. Any discussion? Ms. Crosby?
Okay, so the 14th meeting, the 17th, we can't have a meeting on the 17th? Or we could do the meeting, how would you?
Well, we're proposing that we cancel that meeting and just pick it up in December on a regularly scheduled board meeting.
I know, but I mean, But what were you saying about the 17th? I mean, I'm not clear.
No, the 11th.
28th of
20
November.
Okay, 28th then.
So there won't be a meeting, we won't have but one meeting in November.
You only have one in November.
Okay. So the 28th of November would be the next board meeting.
So
You
we-
okay? You have
so we-
something else?
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to
Okay.
figure out what
So
the
we would
17th was.
swear in all board members on November 28th at that meeting. That would be well a week after the election has been certified.
Right, because they cannot be certified, or they cannot be sworn in until
A
their
week
votes are certified.
Right.
Correct,
A week after the election is certified.
right.
So,
Any-
so would you, no, never mind. I was gonna say you wouldn't want to do it on the 21st and another one on the 28th. You wouldn't want to do two back to back.
21st is actually, we're off of school too. It's Thanksgiving holiday week. The students and teachers we don't have school that whole week.
That's right.
So,
Thanksgiving week. Yeah, so 28th would have to be it.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Nope. Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the cancellation of the November 14th meeting. All in favor? 7-0. So our next meeting will be November the 28th. Okay. Next up, in my chairman's report, this is a sad, bittersweet time for all of us, I think, on the board. I think everybody will join me in saying that. We have a very good board, and we all work well together. We all have difference of opinions, and we're very vocal on those opinions. But yet, when it comes down to it, we're able to come to a consensus for the betterment of our children in Dorchester District 2. And I think we've done well with that over the past years. And I know at this point, there's two of us that are up for reelection. There's two of us that chose not to go through the election process. And I know, me personally, we're each one of us going to get an opportunity to speak, but each one of us has our own things that we want to tout about the district, I guess. And I want to say that I've been on the board for 16 years, and it has been one of the greatest experiences that I have ever had in my entire life, watching the successes of our kids in our district. And not only that, our district as a whole. We've come a long way. Our district we've always had a good district, but we've seen lots of things happen that have just moved us up another notch. And Mr. Pye did a great job with our district, and he took us to levels that we thought we couldn't reach. And then with our latest bringing on Dr. Robbins and seeing the things that he's doing, I mean, just the one thing we just talked about, we've been in the bottom. We've been in like the 16th level in the state as far as rankings, scorings. And we're back even after COVID, 2 years of COVID, where we all know that we had lots of learning loss, and it took lots of effort on our teachers' part and our administrators' part, everybody working hard and pulling together. And, you know, look where we're at now. We're back in the top 10 again. After all these years, we're back in the top 10. Lots of great things, and all that shows and proves is teamwork. And I think the teamwork starts from the superintendent all the way to our teachers and to our staff members, our custodial groups, our bus drivers, to everyone. It's a total team effort in Dorchester too. And you know, we're just a great school district, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. And there's so many other things that I could sit up here and I could talk about, things that we've done that have been great, things that we've done and accomplishments that we've made. And I know there's some others that would like to talk about some of those things. So, but I just want you to know that no matter what happens in the election, this has been the greatest time of my life to see the successes, and I will cherish the memories of working with this group that's up here, and getting to be here when Dr. Robbins got started, and our other new people that are here. And I want to thank everyone for everything that you have done to make not only our district better, but every one of our students and our community a better place to live. So thank you very much, and thank you for all that you have done for me and given to me. I'm going to move on to Mr. Farnsworth. Would you like to follow on?
Do I want to follow along? No, I will. I didn't realize you were starting on this end, so thank you for that, Ms. Hughes. I think about it, and I look at our board as it is right now, and I take it in because the face of this board is about to change. Like it, hate it, it doesn't matter. It's about to change, and I think about, and I'm really, I want to gear the first bit of this to Tanya and Brian, of course, rolling off, and we may wish we would have joined you for a lot of reasons, but I think about the friendships. I think about the relationships. Tanya, I look and I see your family out here. It's just amazing, and how our worlds collided. A lot of folks don't realize. So Tanya's husband, Kent, of course, had an insurance agency, which I am now the proud inheritor and owner of that insurance agency, many years removed. And it's just, again, the world's collided, and the care. I think about PTA. I think about, again, I look at Tanya and I think about family, and I see the values that you bring to Dorchester District 2, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being there and being part of our district. Brian, of course, Brian is one of my best friends out of the boardroom. We met, holy cow, Yes for Schools. I think we were putting up signs together. Way back 2012 was the first time we crossed paths, and just holy cow, they put you in the right place at the right time, don't they? We ended up working together for a few years at the bank, but one of my absolute best friends, just great ally on the district. I think about your kids that have graduated here at DD2 and seeing them be successful, and it's hard to explain for somebody who's never been in this seat to understand behind the scenes what happens and the family that's created. But I would bring it home to this, and I actually had to write down a few notes because, Gail, you alluded to it, and the teamwork. I think about this team. Think about this team sitting on this dais, on this stage as a board right now. The things we have accomplished as a team with the district, with Mr. Pye, with Dr. Robbins, across the district. I go back, and again, I had to write it down because I was like, holy cow. The Yes for Schools campaign, that's when some of us started coming on board. And, out of that, we got some new elementary schools. We got Austin Bailey Elementary School, Sand Hill Elementary School. We got Sires, Dr. Eugene Sires Elementary School. We got Rawlings Middle School, new Rawlings Middle School. Who remembers that guy? Keep it Rawlings. Anybody remember that? We got a new Rawlings Middle School. We now have an East Edisto Middle School. I think about, the Kate additions at all three of the high schools. Holy cow. Guys, think about some of this stuff. This is stuff we have accomplished. We can take for the rest of our lives. It doesn't matter. The board's going to look different. But for the rest of our lives, this is stuff that has changed the trajectory of children's lives forever. The CATE programs, the agriculture program at Ashley Ridge, that's unbelievable. Unbelievable. We're getting nationwide recognition for it. Somerville High School, the mechatronics program, who remembers those meetings, right? Sitting in when we first created those committees to create what is now a phenomenal center of excellence and turning out kids that are able to go make just $50,000, $70,000, $100,000 out of high school. Like, as a leadership team, we did that. How cool is that? Fort Dorchester, their CATE programs, their culinary programs, their marketing program they're doing now. Holy cow. The middle schools, we did innovations, we did renovations, new classrooms, pretty much at every one of our middle schools. Our elementary schools that didn't have multi-purpose rooms, that's a big deal for an elementary school. When they didn't have a cafeteria, when they had to share cafeterias, like that's a big deal. We got multi-purpose rooms for every single one of our elementary schools that needed it. Where we're sitting right now, who remembers when we first walked in and saw this back here, this boardroom in this district office? I remember when it was Rawlings, to be honest. I remember coming in here for performances when it was Rawlings, and to see the renovations, to see what we've been able to accomplish as a team, unbelievable. The new library. We got a new library going up right now. As we speak, we got a new library going up over at Fort Dorchester. That's pretty amazing. That's going to change people's lives. The Aquatic Center, I would be remiss if I did not, of all the things that we have done together, the Aquatic Center is probably one of the highest things on my list that we've accomplished. Because right now, today, and I know for our elementary kids, it's a little bit of a burden. For our elementary schools, it's a burden to get those second graders to the Aquatic Center. But we are teaching, you know what? We are blazing a path in South Carolina. Not many other school districts, I don't know of any, that are teaching second graders life safety skills. As a team, guys, we legitimately change and save lives. We change a trajectory. So this board is going to look different. But I want us to remember as a team, sitting here tonight, looking at each other, I want us to remember what we've accomplished as a team. What we talked about tonight, what Thad talked about, and that report card, holy cow. I could probably look at all my, I am so tired of the narrative that our schools are broken. Our schools are not broken. Public education is not broken. Public education is the backbone of this nation, and we do it well. We do it better than most, and we are one of the best in South Carolina at public education. I am tired of the attack of public education. It's not fair, and we proved it. Look at those results. We proved it. 100%. That's not us. That's not Dr. Robbins. That's the educators. That's the folks in the classroom. That's the team. That's Team Dorchester. I know I'm taking a lot of time, but there's just so much. I think about the Blue Ribbon Awards. I think about the SIC Awards at our schools. I think about way back when. The educator pay raises. Back in 2015, you guys remember getting 1,000 people to that county council meeting? We all said we're not going to get 1,000 people there. There's no way. No way. You can't get 1,000 people at a county council meeting. Guess what? We got 1,000 plus. And guess what? We got teacher pay raises that year, didn't we? As a team, we have done unbelievable things. I just want to thank this team. I want to thank the board. I want to thank DD2 for this honor. It is truly a humbling honor. And I'm just, again, I thank my lucky stars to have been, for any of us, to have been a small part of this district is pretty amazing. So, Tanya, Brian, thank you guys. Thank you. We'll miss you. We'll miss you.
Thank you, Mr. Farnsworth. We're going to hold off on the other two for just a second. We want to move on to the superintendent's report before we go down that one. So, Dr. Robbins.
Somebody's going to have to advance my slide. It's not in slide presentation mode. Thanks. So, and that came up a little wonky on the screen, but, obviously you know that we are recognizing two board members tonight that have chosen not to run for re-election. And so I wrote down a few things that I thought was, I'd be remiss if we didn't say these, and I didn't do this as the superintendent. But first of all, serving as a school board member, it's an important service, y'all, to any community. But what is designed to be a part-time job, you all know is not a part-time job. It ends up being a full-time job. So I always like to add some perspective to the role of a school board member that some people may not really quite comprehend. And that is, school districts typically are the largest employer in any community. In Dorchester County, District 2 has the incredible responsibility of educating over 26,000 students and employing over 3,500 people. Our county has a population, according to the 2020 census, of 161,000 people. So if you just do the simple math, over 18% of the county is connected with the operations of the school district at least 180 days a year. So for me personally, as a new member to the community, I'm entering my 15th year as a superintendent. I truly do understand the trust that the 7 of you place in a superintendent. And I also understand, the importance of relationships and teamwork when we work together as a board. Likewise, I'm always hopeful that as a board and leadership team, we always do our very best to make decisions that if we look in the mirror, the face looking back at us says that decision was what we hoped was truly best for students. I feel like our board and this community is willing to do what it takes to meet the needs of all the students in this community. And honestly, that's why I was so motivated to serve, as the superintendent in this community. You heard what Thad shared with in terms of our statistics. They're good, but we're not satisfied. And I appreciate that, and I respect that, and I'm glad, and I just feel very blessed to be a part of it. But tonight is the final meeting for definitely 2 of our board members. Together, these 2 individuals have given 20 years of dedicated service to the DD2 Board of School Trustees and the children of Dorchester County. As we honor them tonight, I'm reminded by a quote describing service. And it goes like this: "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. Only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile. I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I do know, the only ones among you who will be really happy are those who have sought and found how to serve." So, Justin, Tanya, so happy just to be a small sliver of, and Brian and Gail, of your board careers. 2 of you I know will not be returning. 2 of you, we are hopeful things go a positive direction for you, but thank you for the support you provide us and our team so that we can do all the amazing things that we do together as a leadership team and for the betterment of both students in our county. So I'm going to pause there. And, I do think we have some family members here. I have a loud voice, so you can hear me. Brian, Tanya, down here. So we're freshly, into this new district office, and when I got here, I wanted, if you go into any government building, you can see who the leadership team is. I am so sorry we didn't get the wall completed for, your departure, but we had professional photos made of all of you, and pretty soon that'll be on the right side of the entrance into the auditorium. On the left side will be our foundations wall. All the members and the people that serve our community. So I wanted to present these, your professional photos tonight to you. Which got me with me because there's a little plaque with the period that goes on. I got some of them up on the screen.
We know if Tanya had her whole family here, there wouldn't be room to stand with her, Tanya.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Okay, we're gonna give them a few minutes now to have their comments, their times. Brian, we're gonna go ahead and start with you.
Thank you for the recognition. I did have things to say, but Mr. Farnsworth took them all. I kept crossing off the list of things. I'm like, he's not going to reach down there for that. Bam. He's certainly not going to say this. Surprise, he did. It has truly been a joy and a pleasure to serve the passionate people of DD2. I met so many people that I would not have met before, and everybody was rowing in the same direction. Everybody wants to make it better. They want the students to succeed. We want to give our teachers as much as we can. We want to give our administrators as much support as we can. And one thing that I've always tried to do is work in the best interests of those that serve our students. That's the number one priority of what I did. All these other items that the board worked on were very worthwhile, but it always, always comes back to the students and the people. The people of DD2 are the difference makers. There's some type of aura about our DD2 folks. It's just, there's enthusiasm, there's commitment, and there's passion. And you've got those, you've got a winning team. You know, everybody that has supported us through the years, we appreciate it. I'll be your biggest supporter when I'm gone. I look forward to getting called in for, you know, Teacher of the Year stuff and any other things that DD2 wants me to be a part of, if they want me to be a part of anything from that standpoint. You know, I'm proud to be a 20-year resident of Somerville. I was proud that my children attended school all the way through here, and I'm just proud to live in this community. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the support of my wife. I appreciate the support of these other board members. And the last thing I'm going to say is there are two people up here that have decided to run, and bless them. Please do your part to make sure they are sitting here on November 28th. If you can hear my voice, please make sure they are here on November 28th. Thank you for allowing me to serve. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your life. And I look forward to continuing to watch the success of DD2, this board, Dr. Robbins, and everybody on the team. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchum. Ms. Robinson?
Gosh. Thank y'all for enduring this, because it means a lot that you're here and you're smiling. And I'm going to try not to get emotional. And I wrote stuff down because I knew I would. But, you know, I've been here 12 years, and that's about the time it takes a child to graduate, so it's time for me to graduate. But I want to thank, from the bottom of my heart, my constituents who voted for me and who allowed me to be here for 12 years and to represent them and to be advocates for their children. I want to thank our amazing teachers. I want to thank our principals and our classified employees and our district office. You don't realize all that goes on until you have the opportunity the privilege to be where we have been, the 7 of us, and travel in all these schools and see so many things going on in every school. It's like a little town, and it's vibrant. And I so appreciate that. I appreciate the teachers for their dedication. They have been handed a lot the last few years, and I don't blame them for griping, but they keep doing everything right, and I appreciate it. I also want to thank members of this board. We haven't always agreed, and I can tell y'all can tell that. But I'm going to tell you something that's the truth. When we go to national conventions and state conventions, and we hear stories of boards that are getting fistfights, boards that have people that put dead rats on their front porch, and I think this is a very cohesive, kind board. And even if we do, and boards shouldn't always agree on everything, but I'm going to miss you all very much. You have become like my family. I want to thank my wonderful best friend, Kent Robinson, for being supportive of me, and for my wonderful children, only part of them are here, that buoyed me up when things were down and that celebrated with me when things were up. Most of all, I want to thank my Father in heaven for giving me the health and the mind to accomplish the things that I knew I had to accomplish these 12 years. I love each and every one of you. And Dr. Robbins, I'm so glad I voted for you. We had a good superintendent, and you're just going to keep it up and even do greater things. And I do have something. It is a privilege and it's a challenge to be a board member, but most of all, it's a blessing. Justin kind of gave you all the points of pride we have, so I won't go over that. But I do want, Brian said something, but I do want very much for people that are listening to take this seriously. I have created in my years of experience of being a candidate, there's 3 steps to being a good voter. And if you will follow these 3 steps, the person that's sitting in my place next time, you will feel good about. The first step, hundreds of signs will all but hit you in the face. We've all seen that. You're going to see every shape, size, and color. The one and only reason candidates pay a small fortune, and we do, to sign companies, to print companies, it's for these signs. The only reason we do that is to have name recognition. Candidates need for you to remember their names when you cast their votes. A wise voter will not make their decision based on the number of signs they see or the artistic look of a sign. Keep in mind, that was a business transaction between a professional advertiser and a candidate. So now let's go to step 2. This requires a small amount of time that will be very well spent. It takes a large amount of caring and some effort on your part. It is a privilege as a citizen and a community member to get to choose who is going to represent you. And to give it justice should require some research on each name that you see on all of these signs. Your research will quickly let you know who has been actively involved and has advocated not for just one section of children, but for all children, who has an understanding of this community as to what our specific needs are for this community, who will come to the table with the most capable tools, who understands school law, and who has a positive background that will help our district move forward constructively. You will feel prepared after this research. You will have a conviction of who you feel can accomplish our needs. Our children are the most important possessions that we have in Somerville, and it's important to make that right vote. That's your 3rd and final step. We must care about our children enough to find our way to the voting precinct, taking that 20 minutes out of your day to choose the individuals who are going to sit in these seats for the next 4 years. At this moment, I do want to wish every worthy candidate and all the caring parents out there the very best. Thank you for letting me serve you for 12 years.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Is there anyone that has any kind of comments or anything that they would like to make?
I have something.
Ms. Crosby?
I just have a couple of things that I want to add to. Gail, do you remember when we started graduation? You remember what the graduation rate was? 67%. And look where we are now. We've come a long way, like Justin said. But we certainly didn't do it on our own. It was the teachers, it was the administrators, it was just like Tanya said, it was everybody. It takes everybody to do that. I look at Tanya as the glue that's held us together because of her Christian faith and believing in us and always standing up for us. And we've shared our faith several times on occasions, and it always touches my heart. Brian started out really with the Educational Foundation, right? He's the one who he was the founding, he was the one that was the founding, what word am I looking for here? What am I looking for, Brian? He was the founding father, I guess you could say, of our Educational Foundation. And he's the one that started it and built it, and then it has continued to grow, and he rotated off the board or whatever. But Tanya and Brian have been, my opinion, have been great assets. Like Tanya said, board members don't always get along, and we have had to overcome those battles. But as far as I'm concerned, I think the good Lord puts us where He wants us, and that's what my prayer has been: is that He will put the people on the new people on the board that are here for the right reasons. So I wish you luck in the future.
Thank you, Ms. Crosby. Evan?
I just want to say it's been an honor to serve with the four of you the last 6 years. I've learned so much, and just it's been one big family, and the sacrifice and dedication that you've shown has been an inspiration. So hopefully, whether it's two of us or all four of us, it's just we're going to keep it going as much as possible. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. Ms. Wimberly?
Well, I guess I'll say something too. I'll echo what Mr. Guthrie just said, and offer my sincere gratitude and thanks to you for your service. I do believe it's an honor to be on this board. It's a privilege, and it's a great responsibility. So I thank you for taking that responsibility seriously and for doing things for the right reasons, for making choices that put children first. And I just thank you for your service.
Thank you, Ms. Wimberly. Anyone else?
That's everybody.
No. Huh?
That's everybody.
Anybody else? Okay. All right. Thank you again, everyone. I mean, I don't want to go back into it, but anyway, thank y'all very much. Tanya and Brian, I know you both have been a big asset, and I think someone said it, I don't know who said it, but we have become a family, and this is like, we're breaking this family up, and it's a very sad occasion when this happens. But just know, both of you, I don't think we're going to venture too far away from Dorchester 2, because we all know where your heart's at, Justin and myself as well. Our heart's here, and it will always be here, and we'll always be available and ready to serve and do what we need to do for our community and for our children. So thank you very much. Do you want to finish with your superintendent's report, or you want me to move on with the personnel stuff? Okay. Next is the personnel.
It's in order now, just go on into personnel.
Okay, next on our agenda, board members, is the personnel report. You should have received in your packets recommendations and resignations for our personnel. Can I get a motion to approve those, please? Motion made by Mr. Farnsworth. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Crosby. Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Tina for our finance report.
Good evening, Chairwoman Hughes, board members, and Dr. Robbins. This evening, the finance team has prepared for you the September 30th, 2022 reports. First set of reports that we'll look at will be your balance sheet, which shows our total assets as of the end of September 30th at $45.3 million. You can see as compared to last year, we're just a little bit higher as we did have some savings in our fund balance, which made our investments in cash grow a little bit. So that was the increase there. Liabilities, $8.2 million. Total fund balance at $37 million, which balances out to our assets, total assets. The next report shown there is our schedule of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. And this is our year-to-date information. When we look at our other report, it'll be your monthly, just your monthly figures. So this is total dollars for this fiscal year through September 30th, 2022. So left-hand side shows your total revenues that we budgeted for $237.6 million. As of the end of September 30th, we had $31 million. One of the things I was going to point out, which I can also show you on the next report, is we had, again, our EFA money was combined with our state-aided classrooms for this year. So we had everything combined when we passed the budget as that $134 million. So it looks like we haven't received as much money because we don't have the EFA and the state-aided classrooms money like we did last year. So the state is sending us those funds under a state revenue code instead of under general fund. So when we present y'all with an amendment later in the year, we'll show that was really coming in under state monies, and we'll move it into the general fund at where we had it budgeted. So you'll see a little difference in that change, and I'll show you that on the next report. So our total revenues at the end of September 30th, we're at 87%. Last year we were at 86%, so we're still right on target for that. Expenditures at 82%. Our ideal percentage is 75%. Again, we're in line with where we were last year. So our next slide is this new fancy fun slide that Dr. Robbins had this new presentation for our cash flow analysis. So as we go through the year, you'll notice on the left-hand side where we're going July, we have gone through July, August, and September. Those are actual figures. So those are in black, and then our projected figures for the rest of the year for each month are shown in the red columns as you go all the way over. So the one item that I was talking about under that September column, right after the general fund revenue for the education funding for EAA, that's the part that the state is sending us under a state revenue code. So we will include those as transfers further down the column. So maybe we'll come up with a different color for that. So at the end of September, our cumulative net change in fund balance at the bottom of that column is at negative $11 million. But again, that's where we anticipate for this year to be at this time of the year, as we have not received any of our general fund property taxes from the county yet, because they're collecting those, and we will receive that in December. Very bottom of the section for the food service fund balance. As we said last time, we're a month behind with collections, so anything that we collected in September was for August, and we were only in school for just a couple of weeks, so there was not a lot of revenue from the state. So looks like we went down just a little bit, but we paid all of our bills, and we paid Sodexo, so we really only ended of the month fund balance was at $4.5 million, which is still great. We have a meeting scheduled with Dr. Wilson and Michelle Knotts with Sodexo, so we can start working on those projects. We had talked about buying some equipment, and we had a 5-year plan from them, and we were going to go out 1 year, but since we have some additional fund balance, we can probably go out 2 years of equipment needs. So those are all of the fund finance numbers that I was going to present to y'all this evening, if y'all have any questions.
Any questions for Tina?
Did you tell me the other day the audit is still going on?
It is. We had originally wanted to present that this evening, but there were some additional GASB 87 came into play this year, and some additional federal monies. So they're still working with us on that, and we would like to have that presented at the next board meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. Farnsworth?
Yep, thank you. Tina, just very quickly, can you elaborate a little bit? I think most of us understand, we talk about the fund balance and why it's necessary to maintain a healthy fund balance. Because there are folks in the community, unfortunately, that say, well, holy cow, you've got tens of millions of dollars sitting in your fund balance. Can you just kind of, again, elaborate why that's so important, especially looking at this cash flow chart? I think shows it pretty clearly.
Absolutely. When you start looking at the monthly deficit gain towards the bottom there, and then you see those negatives, that's why it's very important to have that extra cash flow or extra cash savings in your fund balance so you're still able to pay your bills. We don't receive all of our monies equally during the year, so you have to have some savings.
You know, and I want to add a couple pieces to that. Everything's perspective. So that sounds like a lot of money, but you got to remember that our budget is over $250 million, and 2 specific scenarios that I experienced where if we did not have a cash balance, we would have been in significant trouble and had to borrow money. The first was a tornado that wiped out our high school, one of our high schools in my previous district. So yes, insurance is going to cover part of that, but not for a while. And so we had to pay those bills for demolition and planning and construction while we're waiting on the proceeds from the insurance company to come in. The second one, at the same time, was when the ESSER plans came out. And in South Carolina, which is unlike some of the other states, it is a reimbursement type process. So we have to spend our money and then submit those claims for reimbursement. And there are districts in South Carolina that had to borrow money so they could spend money to be reimbursed for that money, if that makes sense. So that's why it's really important to have a cash balance.
Yeah, well, and this is to Mr. Mitchum. What are interest rates right now, Mr. Mitchum?
Borrowing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 6.5%.
6.5%. So if we got into a jam where we didn't have that healthy fund balance, we would have to borrow money at 6.5%. That's pretty scary if you think about it. So again, a lot of folks, and correct if I'm wrong, nothing has changed. We still have a 15% cap, right? And we are the only county in the state of South Carolina that has a fund balance cap. I'm going to repeat that. We are the only county in the state of South Carolina that has a fund balance cap. You think about that. I mean, think about for your personal savings account. If somebody came in and said, nope, you can only have so much in there. Nope, sorry about that rainy day. Good luck with that.
You know, the industry standard 16.67%, which is 2 months of operating cash that they suggest you have. So, yeah, we are forced to be kept below the industry standard.
Yep. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Any other comments or questions? Nope. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Robbins. There's been some movement on a few of the projects at the top of the list with OSF. I think they finished up their summer schedules with all the inspections they did, so they're getting back to the office and starting some review process. We've got the reviewers for the HVAC projects. We've got a reviewer assigned to the gym renovation, and so those are coming along. We haven't got a specific date for those design reviews yet, but hopefully very soon. Some great news from our roofing replacements. The bids came in on the 29th. We were well under the budget number, so I will probably look at another roof somewhere that needs replacing.
Good.
The other thing I added to the report this month was the Dorchester County Library out at Fort Dorchester High School. They broke ground. They've got a building pad there. They've got the site cleared. They hope to start the building pad sometime this week or next week, and they'll be putting some utilities in there. They've got the site fenced off. It's ready to go, ready to build on right now. And I've got a few pictures up there. That's the actual site. The one aerial picture is kind of small in that, but you can see the site and the close proximity to the high school. We plan to, it's presented some challenges for us, but it's nothing we can't overcome. But we're going to do some clearing of our own right through there in that little buffer between the school and the library site. So we've got that working out, and hopefully the next time we meet and talk, we'll be getting ready, really close to putting concrete on the ground. And that's all I have.
Can I ask real quick, that difference between where the library is and Fort Dorchester High School is, how far is it, and will we have a protection wall or fence or something in between?
Yeah, it's approximately 130 feet from the back door of the high school to the back door of the media center portion of the county library. The county library is going to be 15,000 square feet in total. We have approximately 5,000 square feet of that facility, and it's going to be a self-contained type of a facility during the day for our students to be able to go back and forth, and it will be fenced in very well, and we're going to try to put some type of awning there for our students. It's going to be kind of difficult because that little space there is actually a fire truck access lane to the back of the school. So we're going to have to possibly have a gap in an awning or a tall awning, which I'm not really a big fan of, because once you get to the 14-foot height of where a fire truck needs to get under, you're really not offering any protection to the students. It's just kind of, if you got any wind whatsoever, somebody's going to get wet.
So I met with the county administrator, with Tony and Tina, a couple weeks ago, and shared that concern. And so we did kind of brainstorm some ways to fence that so it's not a tunnel, and it doesn't look like that from the outside, but still provides some protection. But the challenge is going to be the awning piece, simply because that's a fire lane, and can we get an awning tall enough where a fire truck we might not be able to accomplish it. We're hopeful, but that's an unknown until OSF will say, yeah, that's okay. That meets code. So,
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? No?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next up is, do you want to go for it? The new website information, and that's going to be Mr. Kenwright.
All right. Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, and Dr. Robbins. All right. Well, as always, I come bearing good news. I'm very excited to share the news that we will have a new website next year in 2023.
Good.
So we are going to transition from Blackboard to Final Site. And one funny thing that we learned in this process, Final Site just bought Blackboard. So we would have ended up under them anyway, but we will have a much more robust system that we'll be working with. So very excited for that. One thing, so the district website will transition in April, and that's April 2023. And then the school websites will transition in July 2023. And then, so right now we're at the stage, we've been getting, we've been having meetings with our schools, with our principals, with our webmasters, finding out what's working with the website, what's not working with the current website. And so that's given us a lot of good input that we're going to use to shape the new websites. Some of the highlights for this. Sorry, it's very small. Probably the biggest highlight is it's going to save time. So right now, for example, if I want to push out an update to certain schools, for example, so for our Rawlings auditions, I had to do that 16 different times. I had to do it for the district site and then 15 times for the elementaries. I have, my team has a lot of things to do, and so if we can just save that time, that would be great. When we're talking about certain situations, if there are certain schools where we need to send messages to, and if you could go to the next slide, please. Sorry. So it's just a lot faster. I'm pleased to report the search engine will be working, and it won't search all of Google. It'll search just our district universe, and so it'll also pre-populate common searches. We can make sure people find what they're looking for much faster. Adds dynamic features. And really showcases DD2. That's probably going to be the most visible thing you're going to see. We're going to have a lot more faces, a lot more pictures of students and staff. It's really going to set apart each school site. If you and I was sharing for kind of the time-saving features, those automatic updates. Targeted tags, let's say right now I have a press release for 3 schools. If I want to feed those to those schools, I have to do that individually, whereas now it's going to be just typing in their school tags and it goes there automatically. That's also going to be a feature for any kind of crisis, making sure that those targeted message go to those schools exactly very quickly. Faster support, we will be able to respond to staff who are managing their websites. Right now, it's kind of a process to navigate to their sites, so it'll be much faster. Seamless file sharing, we can push documents and photos to those schools back and forth. And let's say we have a PDF that we're sharing across the district, and we need to update that PDF. I can go in and swap out that PDF in 2 seconds without having to update it 26 times. As I was sharing before, the upgraded search. So common searches will be easy to find. We can do the exact match or exclusion, and then previewing results. I think our families are really going to appreciate being able to find that information much faster than they currently can. So, and then talking about the dynamic features. So the metaphor I've been using for all of our webmasters is we're going to build the house for you. We are putting up the walls, we're doing the wiring, all that fun stuff. And so this house is going to be move-in ready for you. If you come in on day one and you're like, you know what, I think I want an accent wall, you can do that. It's going to be great. And so it's just really going to pop. Syncing school calendars. It'll sync with Outlook, Google. Pretty much if you have any kind of iCal, it'll be a much seamless updating process. And then shared pages, as I was talking about before, let's say there's some kind of district initiative. So it's a common page that lives on the district site, but when it's fed into the schools, it'll look like it's in that district universe, that school universe, same colors, same design, but I only need to update that one page on the district site and it'll update everywhere. So that'll really help with consistent, accurate information. As I was talking about earlier, probably the most visible one will be the photos and video opportunities that we're going to have. I think that schools and parents will really appreciate, if you're looking at, like, let's say your student is going from elementary school to middle school, there'll be a lot more opportunities for you to see, what the students are doing, smiling faces, teachers, and then, and definitely, I think it'll make personnel happy. I think it'll really showcase our district, especially to maybe teachers who live in Ohio and they're thinking about, moving to South Carolina. I think this is really going to help us stand out. And then just all the storytelling opportunities. Staff training, and this is going to be a huge part of it. With more features comes, more knowledge about how to use that. But I'm excited because there's going to be a lot more training resources available, and we'll be able to record kind of those custom kind of quick hit videos, you know, how to post a blog, how to update pages, and so we'll have all that available. And then in addition to quizzes, especially with school sites, there tends to be a lot more turnover as people change roles or take on new responsibilities. So I think it's really going to help webmasters really get up to speed quickly. So,
Okay. Anyone have any comments, questions, concerns?
Looks great.
I'm excited. This is something that needed to happen a long time ago. So I am really excited to see this happening. I mean, I think we're going to be in where we need to be with computers now and our website, because I know you could go out there. I mean, even us that know a little bit about the website, it's still kind of hard for us to even find things on there. So I'm really happy to see this happen. And so thank you for all of your hard work, because I know this has been quite a task. So.
Oh, and then on that note, there's several people I would like to thank. First, Dr. Harrison and Ms. Boswick in technology. They've been really crucial in kind of giving me behind-the-scenes information, kind of filling me in on, you know, things that we can definitely look out for. And then my team, Brian Bohannon and Jennifer Passmore. So whenever you see those really sharp photos, that's all them. So, and this has been just a really good opportunity for PIO to be, you know, just at the schools capturing those really, really great moments so that they can translate to the website.
Well, thank you all. We appreciate it. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is new business. Does anyone have anything for the good of the board for new business?
I think we've got some old business before that.
Policies?
Okay. Did I skip one?
Policies?
Yep.
Yeah.
I did skip one. I'm sorry. Old business. Board policies for second reading. Mr. Farnsworth, Chairman of the committee.
Thank you, Chairman Hughes. Old news. Old news, I guess. We've got board policies second reading. Sorry, and it is confusing because and Christy, do you see? So when we look at our business, it shows first reading. So just something to note. I don't know why. All good. All good. So I think that's part of that was the confusion there. So we do have board policies for second reading tonight. Bravo, 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 Delta, that's board member removal from office. IJOA, Indy, Juliet, Oscar, Alpha, field trips. JLCDA, Juliet, Lima, Charlie, Delta, Alpha. JLCE, Juliet, Lima, Charlie, Echo. JQ, Juliet, Quebec. And Kilo Foxtrot for second reading. We didn't have any changes between first and second reading. So those are the policies for second reading.
Coming from committee, we don't need a second. So do we have any discussion? Okay, all in favor? 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Farnsworth. Now the old business, or new business. Does anybody have anything for new business? Okay, next on the agenda is public comments. And I'd just like to read the policy or procedures for public comments. 3 minutes per person at the end of each board meeting will be devoted to input from citizens on items within the scope of the board's duties. Comments must be on items within the scope of the board's duties. Speakers are required to complete a signing card 5 minutes prior to the beginning of the board meeting. Speakers will be recognized by the chairman to speak for no longer than 3 minutes per speaker. The board has set aside 20 total minutes for public comments. The total length of time allowed for public comment may be expanded at the discretion of the board chairman as the circumstances warrant. So first up is Karina Hines.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hey, board members, how you doing?
Good.
How you doing? I wanted to make a comment on something that you have spoke of about the teachers. Now, my daughter attends Ashley Ridge. I'm a parent. I have issues with some of the things that's going on with the teaching there. Children are being taught work that's not helping them pass the quizzes that they're taking. It's not adding up. It's not the same work. It's not in the same sequence of work. That's becoming a problem. I have an 11th grader that's struggling, and I'm trying to encourage her to talk to the teachers, reach out for the help in the schools, because they're the only ones that can give her that. Now, I spoke to a teacher concerning some of the materials. They're being given materials for the students to teach them, but the stuff that they're going home with is totally different than what they're being taught in class. So that's becoming a problem for me. As far as, you know, the district being great with the teaching, I applaud y'all, because I came from District 4. And I'm not saying that they're not good there. It's just so much small. It's a small community. The schools are small, and they don't have the access as much as we do here. So on that commencement, I hope that y'all can work that out too with the staff. Secondly, I just wanted to step up. You know, I've been here about a month ago asking for incentives for the bus drivers and monitors. I'm hoping that y'all still are in a work in progress with that, because a lot of us we feeling that the substitute teaching and the teachers, yes, the teachers do have top notch over us, and we understand that. But at the same time, if y'all can move as swift as y'all did for them, why are we being kicked aside and still just humbling out there? Just, you know, we're doing it humbly, but at the same time, it's a lot of frustration. A lot of people that's just wanting to just give up. We just tag-polling on each other to encourage each other. And it's not as easy. So I'm hoping, once again, just to remind y'all, don't forget about us. You know, I mean, the sitters were meeting a lot. It shows us that, hey, y'all really appreciating us. And maybe that'll pull some more people to come in to try and hang in there with us, not come in, get the CDL because it's easy to get through DD2 and go somewhere else. So, and that's another thing. If y'all want to put something in a stipulation with them coming in, you know, that's kind of got kicked under the rug since Mr. Strickland left. They not staying them 100 and so many days to work with us to keep their CDL. It's so much easier now for them to just come in, get it. They stay a week or two, a month, and they're gone. And we're back to square one with shortness of drivers. So if y'all can continue to bring it together, as y'all said, we're a team. We are part of that team, and we just want to be appreciated and shown that as well. I thank you for hearing me, and hopefully something will change. And good luck.
Thank you, Ms. Hines. Next up is Patricia Pryfer. Is that it? Did I pronounce that right?
If it's me, no, you didn't. But
Okay.
with a D, Duffner?
That could be it. Yeah, it looked like a P. Duffner. Got it.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. All right. Let's see. Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you, and thanks for letting me come talk. Would you board a plane flown without somebody who's a pilot? Would you want to be in a surgery without someone who knew what they were doing? Of course not. So what I'm trying to prove a point is that you wouldn't want to do something with somebody who wasn't really prepared for the job. I'm a mother of 5 in the DD2 school district. 3 of them have graduated from Ashley Ridge, and I still have 2 at East Edisto. And I'm proud to say I've been a part of your special education department for a few of my kids. The Individuals with Disability Education Act states that children with autism and other developmental disabilities should be placed in the least restrictive environment. In school, the least restrictive environment, of course, is the ordinary classroom. In a lot of children's case, the least restricted environment includes an intricate piece to their puzzle, and that piece is an adult support. The need for a quality adult support, given the appropriate salary and funding to the education department, is why I'm here today. An aide guides my child to stay focused on his academics while writing for him all day long. An aide helps my child manage his behaviors by implementing a behavior plan created by a behavior specialist. An aide assists my child to navigate his schedule to go from classroom to classroom. An aide supports my child's social learning by encouraging group conversations in the unstructured settings like courtyard and lunch. An aide helps my child's therapist collect data so that his behaviors are monitored throughout the day. An aide also helps support me, providing me with all the information of how his day went. Over the last 8 years of schooling in my son's adult supports, they have been his eyes, his ears, his everything to be able to function in a social school academic setting. The adult supports in your district are currently making $16,000 a year. That's $7.69 an hour. On today's DD2 employment opportunities page, you're looking for 17 more full-time adult supports at various locations. With this pay in mind and the average workload I just gave you, it's obvious why you're having a hard time filling those positions. My son has had 5 different adult supports this year alone, and we've only been in school for 10 weeks. The extreme turnover has been effective of his grades, his safety, his well-being, and his social and emotional growth. He isn't the only student in this situation. There's a solution to this problem. If the district increases the pay and brings attention to the community at large, I feel that we can fill the needs for all these open positions. The average pay for a caregiver in South Carolina is $12.49. That's 62% more than what you're paying your aides at the school district. Are you going to kick me out? Yeah. No, I'm not done, but okay. Is that it?
Yep, we're only allowed 3 minutes.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I'll email y'all this whole thing,
Do
and
that.
then I hope to hear back from you. All right.
Thank you very much. Next up is Dr. Hester Young.
Sometimes you know what you want to say, and then you say something, and it falls into place. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate every one of you for doing what you do. I have a healthy appreciation of your work. I really do. I love education. My comment tonight has to do with board partnerships. As a citizen, my husband and I have been here 30 or more years in Somerville, and we love it, and we want to be a part of helping it be better. But observation, board partnerships with outside organizations is a concern of mine as they relate to influencing educators, voters, parents. They just influence. So we really need to be careful when we have outside partnerships with organizations that say that they support education, because we know what education is supposed to do, and that is to prepare our children for the long term. One of the things that I was thinking about was that professionalism. You know, it's important. We're really, when you look from the outside in, you see that really we're number 12. According to my relatives from outside, as an objective person. So I look at all entities to make us elevate ourselves to the top 5. And some of these soft skill things matter: integrity, credibility, customer service, 101. All of those things really influence our ranking in the community. Protecting our credibility is very important when we work with outside organizations that influence our educators and our precious Generation Z that we're working with. So excellence is very important. It's very important in ranking, especially for the 21st century. So we need to be careful to understand that our children are watching us. They're watching our leadership style. They're watching our integrity, all across the board. That's Generation Z. So the partnerships that we develop with these outside organizations really should understand our character and our values, okay? Because our children, our most precious commodity, our parents deserve the best, and they should see us as a unified front fighting to help them prepare for life after graduation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Young. Okay, next up is Kayla Hall.
I'll be quicker than the 3 minutes. This is what you get when you drive from Greenville to surprise your mom for her last meeting. You get to make a public comment. I just want to say thank you to all of y'all for the time you put in that people probably don't even realize. I'm on the other side of the things. I don't live in this county, but I know my mom has stayed up long past normal hours, concerned, worried, praying on behalf of the kids, teachers, parents, bus drivers, you name it, that's on their minds. And I'm sure y'all are all similar. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of the parents and community for the things that y'all do. I don't think you get this enough. I'm guilty of it. I don't go to my own school board and tell them thank you enough. But you're appreciated, and it's a very important part of our community, and we are really grateful that people are willing to do kind of a thankless job without being paid and do it because you care about kids in your community. So I just want to say thank you, and thanks, Mom, for being such a good example to me and to all the kids. Love you.
Love you too. But Dorchester's better than Greenville County.
Thank you, Kayla. Okay, I think that is the final line item on our meeting. So I need a motion to adjourn. So moved. Motion made by Mr. Mitchum. Do I have a second?
I will second it.
Second by Ms. Robinson. Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Thank you very much and have a great evening.